Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, Damion.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Hey, that was all like in harmony there. I love it. It's a Saturday morning. You guys are both off, and you were talking earlier before we jumped on how it's kind of a relaxing morning for you. Even
Yes.
though even though you were willing to take an hour, and it's really more than an hour because you got to be prepared for it and things like that for this property tour. And I love you guys so much, and you guys inspire me so much. It's just amazing to hear your story and what you guys are doing and keeping up with all that. But just the fact you're willing to give forward and share with others and potentially help other people is just amazing. So we love starting these off by kind of sharing a little bit of your stories. And I know you've done this before, but again, we could have potentially a lot of new people on today that have never met Jennifer and Damion Lloyd, and they don't know your story because your story is very compelling. It's very inspiring, and kind of like where you guys have been in your life. Talk a little about your family, but talk about what kind of trigger. What did you guys see, read, attend? What happened where you were like, let's be real estate investors. Let's start acquiring properties and let's build our legacy. And then kind of how you found our community, because again, we have a lot of guests on today, and people are on today trying to figure out this whole. Some people are like, what is this whole real estate investing thing about? What is this community about? The whiff factor. I haven't used that terminology in a long time. You guys know what the whiff factor is. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And that's natural. That's humanist. People are like, well, so what's in it for me if I become a part of this community? What am I going to gain from it? So
Yeah.
please share that. Jennifer, love for you to kick it off if you could.
Well, thanks, Scott, for putting me on the spot there.
I'm glad you said it because I was about to say it anyway. Ladies first.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Good morning. And thank you guys so much for just having us on again and allowing us to come and share our story. This journey has been really rewarding for us. And so we just, we hope that it will bless somebody else. And really hopes and confirming that, for them, that this is something or a journey that they may want to start. So Damion and I, we started this journey of real estate investing in 2018, which was shortly after we got married. And so, initially, one of our agreements was that, we knew we kind of wanted to get into real estate investing because we had done his house in DC and I had a rental property in Suitland, Maryland. And so we knew that it was something that we wanted to continue to do. But after we got married, it was like, okay, we're going to wait a year. We're going to try to, make sure that we're good together. We're in sync before we start this business and before we kind of get going. Make sure our family is in sync.
Yeah, and that's for us, that's according to scripture. Scripture just basically talks about taking that year to, figure each other out, get to know each other, two individuals coming together to become one. So not adding too much stress in the beginning of your marriage. So, we try to stick to that.
And so we kicked this off in 2018. And so we started it by first doing tax liens. And I'll let Damion kind of share with that story.
He wanted to know, I guess, like what you did before coming doing the rest.
Oh, so what our professions are? Is that what the question?
Yeah, kind of like your journey. What did you do before? What are you still doing? But yeah, because again, we got a lot of new folks on today, and you got a lot of people out there that are working W-2s.
Yeah,
a lot of people that are trying to get out of that W-2 and being controlled and told when they can take vacation and when they can travel to Italy and, all that. And they want to get out of that box. I call it a box. They're in a box, and in a box, there's four sides. And every time they go one way, you hit the side, you go the other way. So talk about that a little bit, because, I'm sure people would love to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we started real estate investing, I was an IT project manager, and I actually still am. So I do contract work for the government in the IT space, in the IT realm. And Damion is a fireman. So he's a fireman, and he's got shift work, 24 hours on, 24 hours off. And so we kind of, we tag teamed in terms of our profession, pooling funds, coming together, of course, as a family. We have 3 kids. So we have 3 kids, 16, 14, and 12, about to be 13. And so, of course, blended family, trying to make it work. But we knew that real estate was something that we wanted to do. We both enjoyed it. He loves the demo aspect of it. I love the design aspect of it. And so it was just, that sort of match made in heaven, I guess, if you will. And that's really where we started. We kind of talked about what we wanted to do, and then he kind of went forth with seeking out a group, and that's kind of where we started with the tax lien.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we initially wanted to get into real estate, we didn't know anything about anything. We didn't know that we wanted to get in a group. It all started out by one of my neighbors telling me about the tax liens in DC. So I went to a tax lien, and while I was there, well, actually before I got there, Jennifer was like, make sure you network, because I would have went, I'd have been laser focused on whatever I was focused on, the properties that I had picked out to do my tax liens to bid on, and then I would have left. But she planted that seed, and I was like, okay, let me make sure I do that. And while I was there, I met Keith Jones. He's a part of the community, but he was not then, I don't believe. I think he had found the group like after we met. But we exchanged numbers because there was another guy who was at the auction who was buying up everything. If he wanted it, he raised his hand, he got it. And we was like, man, this dude must be with some type of group or something. But long story short, we networked with Keith. Keith and his wife found the group and told us about it. We came and saw follow-up. We didn't even see an intro. We saw what's called a follow-up. And I saw it myself. And I had the pleasure of going back and trying to convey what I saw and what, I got out of it to Jennifer. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
But before that, I had been looking at like YouTube and like seeing like people selling little courses on TV. It was a course, Scott, that was $47. And I was like, no, I just didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling. And
Right.
and when I came to the office, because we had an office in Annandale, and I came to the office and I saw the environment and I heard the presentation, I said, this is it. This is what I need, because I have something, a place that I can go to and I can ask questions if I have to. I have someone I can shake if if I need to, because calling a 1-800 number and just hearing someone over the phone, that wasn't going to work. YouTube doesn't talk back to you. So there was going to be missing holes. There was things that were going to be missing. So I saw what all this company, this group had to offer. And we didn't initially took the jump. We talked to some people who were already doing real estate. We talked to a few people, and we saw that there was no way of either getting around getting educated or paying someone, a mentor or something, to do what we say that we wanted to do. And I knew that this was it. I knew that this was definitely God sent for us, because I'm not the type of person. I graduated high school and I was like, I'm done with school. I don't want to learn nothing else. But when I saw this, it just resonated in my heart, and I love it. I love the journey of learning all that we have learned in this soon to be 5 years in August.
And I'll say one more thing too. The people that we had talked to, like the friends and the family that were doing real estate investing, that we conferred with, they didn't have people. They didn't have a community. They didn't have people that they could talk to or leverage or, help support them when they went out on their investments. And that was one of the key things, I think, for the both of us in just coming upon the community. It really is a community, and it provided, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it provided the undergirding that we need, because it can be scary. It can make you feel really insecure about what decisions you need to make, how you need to run numbers or evaluate, properties. So having people that we are connected with, that are like-minded, that are going after the same goals, it made it easy for us to be able to say, okay, yeah, this is kind of where we need to be.
Gosh, that is so powerful, guys. That is just, again, inspiring as always. So, you talked about mindset. I heard that. I mean, I know that word seems to be overused a lot, but it's so important to everything we do in our lives.
Absolutely.
Everything. You guys talked about your 3 beautiful children, and your mindset as parents has to be right. Your mindset has to be in the right place to be the best parents that you possibly can be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're entrepreneurs, you're business owners, you're real estate investors. Your mindset has to be in the right place to be coachable, to be teachable. Okay. Damion, you're a firefighter. I mean, gosh darn, if your mindset wasn't right, you got lice in your hand potentially and things like that. So I'm so glad you talked about that, Jennifer, about the mindset, and or Damion. I can't remember who brought that up, but being coachable, being teachable, and you guys recognize this on so early on. It seems like that you knew you needed to become educated, or you needed to spend a ton of money paying somebody, as a private mentor or whatever, to get you where you needed to be. But again, what would be the missing factor there? And that would be community, which you found, which I have found, which so many of us have found around the country. And so your journey has taken you where you guys are really focused in doing acquisitions and doing fix and holds, and where you're building your monthly residual income, correct?
Yes.
And that is one constant that, and I do the same. I love listening to what you guys are doing, because I learn a lot from you guys. And but in the very beginning, when I really had this buzz going on and I found the community, everybody kept telling me, what do you think? Here, take this one training that teaches you how to figure out your ID, like what's it called, investor ID.
Investor's ID, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I love fix and flips. They're sexy, they're cool, they're and everybody said, well, you're gonna love that, but you really need to think about rental properties. Whether it's long term or short term, you want to be focused on that, and you want to be adding those to your portfolio. And in the beginning, I heard it and made sense, but until I actually took the leap of faith and started to do it. So you guys, this is what you guys focus on, and you're doing so well at. So you've got a property today that you're sharing with us that's really a great looking property, as far as, obviously you're going to show some pictures right now, and for everybody on, it's very early on, it's in the demo stage. So some people might look at the pictures and be scared out of their minds. And I know, like, one of the things that when I first got started, my wife, it's so supportive, not as much in the very beginning, but so supportive. But I know her vision when she sees like what you're going to show, she's like, oh my gosh, this thing's never going to come together. This thing's never going to come together. How, what are we doing? What are you doing, Scott? I know when I bought my first firehouse, And I took the pictures and I showed her, and she was like, what did you do? You know, and she's like, I go, honey, I've got this vision. It's not as bad as you think it is. She goes, it's charred. It's half the house is burnt down. I mean, so so talk about a little bit about this property and kind of like what you guys are focusing on. I know Section 8 is a big part of your business. You guys have been on before. We've talked about this. There are a large amount of people out there that are really, they feel like they want to stay away from Section 8, you know, almost like it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't want to get involved in that, but they really need to open their mind up. And they need really look at not only the potential profit, but just the security of that investment. So let's talk about that and talk about how you found the property, because that's always cool for people and they're interested. Like, how did you find this deal? So I don't know if Jennifer or Damion, you guys, who wants to jump in?
Like you were saying about the way the property looks, kind of can discourage somebody. It just reminded me of the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Once you have investor eyes, you like to see a mess almost, and you know, because you know that there's a deal to be had in that mess, and you know you can make it beautiful. Hence the name of our company, Beautiful Ashes. But we found this property on the MLS. It actually was a property I had been looking at for a couple of years now. It's been on and off the MLS. And this last time that it came on, I went to go see it. And for whatever reason,
I sent it to you, Chris.
I've been seeing for some time. But for whatever reason, I don't know why I was on and off back then, and this particular time it happened to stay on, but thank God it did. And we jumped on it real quick, and come to find out it was a bankruptcy. It was a bankruptcy sale. The guy was going through bankruptcy and was forced to sell it. And we put our offer in, and
it was special because, again, this originally was a single family house that they converted into 2 units. And so for this particular area and the price that it came on the market for, we were definitely like, hey, we need to jump on this. We need to get out here and see this. And we just need to go ahead and put an offer in on this particular property.
So why do you guys think, talk a little bit, why do you think it was on the market on and off for 2 years, Damion?
I think because I got to know the guy who we bought it from. He was trying to save it initially because it was a rental property for him as well. And he had a couple of tenants that were elderly tenants who were having problems paying, and I guess he was helping them catch it up and stuff like that. So probably dealing with that struggle with the 2 tenants, he was probably trying to decide to sell it, which ended up putting him, I guess, in a negative and a default, and him ultimately have to sell it himself.
Sure, absolutely. So so as you were talking about, you found the property, you were watching it for a couple of years, you put an offer on it. You got to know, and I love you talking about how you got to know the seller. You know, that's so important, that building that relationship, and not always do you get to build a relationship with the seller during the process. So that's really neat. And so did you have to negotiate much? What, you know, I know we'll get to the numbers here toward the end. So if anybody has some numbers questions, I promise you we will leave time for that. And because you're going to really like the numbers, and obviously our business is a numbers business. So did you have to negotiate much with them? Talk a little bit about how that all went down.
We do an escalation clause on most of our properties. so we can try to beat out any other, because again, if it's on the MLS, I mean, everyone sees
It's a
it.
competitive market.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we did an escalation clause, and because, we've had a history, of being able to close and stuff like that, our agent, Chris, who's also a part of the community, also coaches us up to the seller, saying that, hey, they're serious about closing. We put in I think they said the average EMD is about 2 to 3% or whatever. We always go over that amount. So to make our offer look more appealing than any other offer. And by the grace of God, it worked.
Awesome. Amazing. Now, you talked about the escalation clause, which is, I love that tool. That's a resource. That's a tool that we learn about. And, it's allowed you to acquire more than one property by having that. If you wouldn't have had the escalation clause, do you think you potentially would have got this deal or maybe previous deals?
No, we wouldn't have gotten this one if we would have went in for our initial offer, because the initial offer, because of the escalation, we beat out the other offers.
Yeah, it doesn't. I will say we've done it in the past. Not every offer is a win or is a yes. We have done the escalation on a number of occasions. But I'm a firm believer that definitely what is for you is for you. And so
And it's funny because Jennifer was kind of getting discouraged with the escalation thing. She was like we seem not to be getting it. And I'm saying,
yeah,
it's gonna happen,
Yeah.
And sure enough, it came through in the
Yeah.
clutch. But your numbers are your numbers, so you don't want to get emotionally attached to a property and overbid for something. You want to always stick to your numbers, so it makes sense for you. You don't want to get yourself like, oh man, I can fudge here, I can go a little higher there, my rehab can be a little lower there. You want to stick to your numbers so you can make sure that you win.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because so many investors out there do that. They get emotional. They say that, I want this property no matter what. Or they fudge on their numbers, like they come back with their renovation budget and it's $54,000, and they're like, man, for me to make these numbers work, it needs to be 30. Well, I can save 24. When I get started, I'll figure out a way to save 24 grand off the renovation budget. Well, you and I both know that doesn't work, does it? Unless you have a clear plan on what your renovation is, and you have some type of an oops factor or a contingency built in where, okay, my budget's 100,000, but I'm going to budget 110 just in case a couple other things pop up along the way.
Yeah.
And so you guys you stick to that, right? You stick to the numbers. And you mentioned early on that, Damion's like really into the nuts and bolts and the demolition and all that, how that all comes together and all that. And you love the designing part. You love getting it to the finish line, is the way I kind of look at it. Because I love that too. I love that finish line. Well, I love all the aspects of it, but the finish line to me is so rewarding, because whether it's like building a house that takes 6 to 9 months, or doing a renovation that takes 6 months or 3 months, when you get to that point and you're like bringing it all together, you're like, it's like a flashback. It's like all the last several months, here's where we are.
Yeah.
So, it kind of gives you a really good feeling about that. But so you acquired this property, and your intention from the very get-go was you were going to market this property to an end user through Section 8, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
because
of the numbers again. We'll go back to the numbers. You guys looked at your numbers, which we'll talk about. I mean, the numbers kind of blew me. I mean, we've done some property tours together, right? For the last couple of years, you've probably done 2 or 3 of them. But this dollar amount is just, I'm used to my Section 8 pricing here and in Kansas, where we do a lot of properties, and there's such a huge difference. So it's so key to know your market. I mean, a 5-bedroom in Kansas will bring potentially $2,400 max. and in Section 8, and you guys just blow that away where you're at, the market that you're in. So
Yeah.
talk a
Yeah.
little bit about the Section 8 and just 5 minutes about that, because I'm sure there are people on going, I would never do Section 8. I don't care what they say. I'm not going to do Section 8.
Yeah, so originally, when we purchased the property as is, we were going to keep it the 2 units. Our goal, because again, looking at the numbers, we saw that by keeping it a 1-bedroom, by renting the 1-bedroom and then renting the other side, which was a 2-bedroom, we would actually make more than just turning it into a 5-bedroom single family home.
Right.
So we were planning to actually keep it the way it was and just, again, rehab it in that way. But after going back and looking at the requirements for Section 8, the county, what was going to be required for the county to actually classify this as a 2-unit property, it wasn't going to make sense for us. And our timeline was not going to make sense for this particular strategy. So we decided to go ahead and look at time and basically convert the property back to a single family house, adding 2 additional bedrooms to the property and looking at, of course, the numbers in that way. And so typically our strategy has been Section 8 or housing going through the county. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people say, "Hey, look, I'm not going to do, Section 8 tenants." Kind of as we kind of mentioned before the call, some states kind of require you can't turn away people with vouchers or housing vouchers. It's kind of against the law, right? They have to be considered. And then there are some states who, that is allowable. You can say, hey, no, I'm not doing Section 8 or I'm not doing vouchers. I'm only going to do traditional rent. But we have kind of found a strategy that really works for us in that we do a rigorous screening. Our screening helps to weed out people that we know are not going to be a good fit for our property. We have a standard for our property. We have a standard for the kinds of tenants that we want to see in our property. And by the grace of God, it has worked so far.
How did you learn about the screening process? How did you develop that whole screening process? Is it being a part of the community or the trainings that you've taken? Have they helped you?
So this particular strategy I learned from a guy that I follow on YouTube. And we do home visits to their current home. So a lot of people don't know that you can screen a Section 8 tenant like you would screen anybody else.
Yep.
So to just automatically assume that because that person has this voucher that they're going to tear your house up, you're doing yourself a disservice, and that's a little judgy to me. So you give everybody a shot, because I know for people who weren't on Section 8, who tore up people. My sister had, for instance, had some friends that she had lived and tore up her house. So it doesn't automatically mean that a person, if they're on Section 8, they're going to tear up your house, just like a person who's not on Section 8, that they're not going to tear up your house.
Right.
So the screening process is the same across the board, whether you're doing Section 8 or not. What we've learned to do is to do initial home visits while we're doing the screening process before picking any tenant, whether we decided to do Section 8 or a traditional tenant. We let the person know that we're going to come to your house and visit where you're currently living. And odds, if they're taking care of where they currently live, they'll take care of your house as well. We like to see, of course, someone who's been at a property at their current property for at least a year. If it was longer, the longer the better, of course. And that way we get to gauge how they take care of the property.
Yeah, and we ask follow-up questions. We use all of our senses when it comes to doing our home visits, but we also ask for references. We contact their rental references, their previous landlords. We have conversations. We do background screenings and make sure there's no evictions and stuff like that. I mean, and I'll tell you, it helps to weed out the caliber of people that you want to stay in your property. Like essentially, we're looking for long-term renters, right? We're looking for someone who wants to be there, you know, for a long period of time. And we've actually had most of our renters with we just purchased a property last summer. So she's been there, you know, but most of our renters have been long-term renters. And so we check in with them, we do our home inspections, we make sure that things are going well in the property, we address whatever issues. So it can never be said that, you know, us as landlords are not taking care of the property. And then when we do our home inspections, it's a way for us to make sure that our tenants are actually taking care of the property and adhering to the lease agreement that they sign. So when we do our screening for this coming property, it will be having those conversations. It will be talking about key points that are in the lease to make sure that they understand where they're responsible. And it will be, you know, asking those follow-up questions and doing those, calling those references to make sure that they say everything is on point, everything is on point.
Awesome. I saw a couple questions jump in here. I know we're going to go through the pictures here. I'm excited to see the pictures as well. So how are you protecting yourself against, say, fair housing claims? Do you have any concerns about that, or do you have a system in place? Is it the consistency that you do across the board that keeps you away from having any issues like that?
Yeah. I mean, again, we don't discriminate. Because I had a person who wasn't a voucher holder, I was like, I asked her the question because of course that's what we were looking for. And she was like, no, why does everybody keep asking me that? And I was just saying, like, you know, that's normally who calls me, but we don't discriminate against anybody. I mean, you got to keep it the same against whatever your lease agreement is for one tenant. It has to be that for all of your tenants. So we just keep everything the same. And I mean, again, if you're kind, you're courteous, you know, we're not slumlords, you know, we're responsive. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, then, you know, by the grace of God, things are going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. You're not going to, you know, you kind of weed out. Of course, you can't mitigate every situation, but, you know, for the most part, you know, you weed out the nonsense.
But we market our properties on specific through specific vehicles. So for example, we market our properties on the actual housing authority website. They have a list that comes out, is it every month? They have a list that comes out every month,
3 weeks
or something to that effect. Yeah. Of just available homes of landlords who are looking, you know, to lease their properties to voucher holders. There's also a couple of websites that we use to market our property to who may be, you know, voucher holders. So there are different avenues and ways that we actually market our property to the folks that we're looking for.
You guys are sharing so many golden nuggets here. I cannot wait to continue to pick your brain on stuff. But you know what? Has there been any specific trainings or classes that you've taken with our community that have helped you along the way? Because that's always interesting to hear if there's any specific things that were really key for you guys.
Absolutely. The buy and hold class for sure. The fix and flip class, even though this isn't a fix and flip, the rehab classes that we have. And we also, we have a home inspection class. I ended up becoming a home inspector because of that class, because I wanted to have a leg up when bidding on particular properties. I wanted to be able to come in and do the initial inspection myself and waive the inspection contingency so I can have a leg up. So there are a number of classes that we take, and I continue to take even on a regular basis, because there's no way to retain all of the information, or, you know, there's a plethora of information, you know, within our group that we have with all of these different classes. So when we're you know, whether it be a fix and flip, whether it's tax lien or buy and hold, I like to refresh myself by watching the classes, you know, on whatever particular strategy I'm gonna go and try to execute.
Yeah, that's so important because I know I've been involved in the community for almost 8 years now, and several, if not the majority of our classes have been refilmed and updated. So think about, you guys have been involved since what, 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 5 years. Can you believe it's been 5 years for you guys?
And not to mention the tax and legal as well, you know, the structure, man, that
it's so mind-blowing. It is. I mean,
it is.
I have people that take that tax and legal and I share it with them and they're like, you can do what? Like, why hasn't my accountant ever told me I can do these things?
Right.
Like, well, because there's so much out there, the accountants don't, unless they specifically specialize in real estate investing clients like you guys, you may know more than them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Typically you do after you've taken the tax and legal a couple times. You're like, because I remember sharing something with my accountant years ago and he's like, nah, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, you can. And we ended up pulling it up in the journal, and they're like, oh my gosh, they never trained me on this before. Like, yeah, because they got to do all their updated, what they call it, the renewed classes they have to take to stay licensed and everything. Mm-hmm. And they're like, it's kind of like realtors. You know, a lot of times people think, well, real estate investing and realtors are the same.
Are the same, right?
Yeah.
And the realtors don't know, most of them. I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them don't know really anything about investing. Yeah. Right. So let's get into this property. Let's share some pictures here because we're 11:39. We got to save time for the
numbers and questions.
Yeah, and I also want to remind everybody again, if you got on late and you really love what you're hearing today, and what Damion and Jennifer are talking about are resonating with you, and you want to learn more about our community and about the classes and about, you know, you guys want to be just like, you know, that old saying, I want to be like Mike. You want to be like Jennifer and Damion, you know, you want to be building this.
Don't be like me, be like Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, amen, brother. Okay. If I had a mic now, I would do a mic drop.
That's why I got my shirt on. Be like Jesus.
Yeah. So if you guys want to learn more about our community and about the education that Jennifer and Damion and I and so many others in our community have taken that have helped us build our business, right after this, at 5 after the top of the hour, on a different link, you're going to need to get back to invited you, but on a different link, you can attend a session, what we call an overview. And it really opens up a lot more about what we do as a community and about, you know, we haven't even talked about using other people's money and how you do that and how you learn to have those conversations and things like that. You can learn more about that in that. So get back to invited you, shoot them a quick text and say, man, I want to be on that right after this. How do I get on it? Okay.
That's another class that you just reminded me of was the raising private capital class.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's see some pictures. We're seeing some now of kind of it torn up a little bit. Oh yeah, that's the front of it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, you know, originally when we purchased the property, this was a kind of sectioned off as a 2-unit property. And so our goal is to convert it back into a 1 single family property. So what you're looking at now is the front of the property. And just, you know, also for those who are new and who've not been on a property tour before, we are usually at the property.
Yeah.
Today we are not at the property because the signal at the property is really bad and we do not have Wi-Fi service connection there just yet. And so we have actually gone through and just, you know, captured some sort of as is pictures of the property. And then we'll talk about, I'll kind of show you the layout that we're planning to do with the property. So what you're looking at now are current or as is pictures of the existing property. So this is the front of the property right here. I love the columns in the front. What we're planning to do is actually enclose the porch. So we'll, you know, and
Oh, you
put
talking about-
railing,
yeah.
yeah, railing around the porch. We've got to change out the windows. We're more than likely going to add siding. So we'll have, it'll look like a brand new property when we're done with it.
And you're definitely gonna want to see the, we definitely gonna have to do a tour for the after.
The after.
I'm
This is-
holding you guys to that.
Oh, no doubt.
Book me in your calendar in a couple months, okay?
Okay.
right.
So this is the side of the property. This is actually, that entrance right there is the side, the entrance into the 2-unit side of the property. And then the white door that you see is the door or the entrance down into the basement. So this property does have a basement, but it is not really a functional space. It is the space where all of the different utilities live. So the HVAC, the hot water heater, and some things like that. I think this property was built in 2025. So originally, there were stairs from inside the house that led down into the basement. But at some point, one of the owners of the property decided to sort of close it off and just make it a rambler. And so now the only entrance into the basement is this white door that you see over here. And that leads down into where the breaker box is, again, hot water heater, HVAC, things like that. Maybe, later on down the line somewhere, as we get going, maybe we'll think about doing some excavation and trying to just kind of dig it out and make it a more functional space, convert the property again, but that'll be totally later on down the line. So what you're looking at here is actually the entrance into the 1-bedroom unit. So it was a very small 1-bedroom unit space. So this is kind of the living room, kitchen, dining room space. And over there on the left where that window is the entrance into the bathroom. This is the bathroom for that 1-unit space. So all of this will be gutted and pulled down and rehab. So what you're looking at here is the living room, the entrance into the 2nd unit with the 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. So this is the living room space of the 2-unit space. And then this is the kitchen. So this is the kitchen, that side entrance, that's that back door that you see straight in front of you. As you can see, like this unit was not as bad at all as the 1 unit. They actually took care of this unit a lot better than the 1 unit
And the
side.
1 unit was a smell. That smell was horrible.
Oh yeah, it was definitely. I'm glad we didn't have smell-o-vision because it would be gross.
Aren't you guys amazed that at one point years and years ago, it was super popular to put drop ceilings in houses everywhere?
Yeah, and the ceilings are high too. They're high.
Yeah,
they're high
exactly.
ceilings in this house.
Exactly.
So
sometimes they're put in for electrical and plumbing to be ran. Sometimes they're put in if there was a leak and they're covering it up.
Yeah.
Someone told me, and I've never done the research on this, that because a lot of times I'll take the drop ceiling down and then there's another 3 feet above it.
Yeah.
And I was told, and I've never researched this, but I was told that at one point this whole concept came up to help with heating and air, keeping the properties, the heat, because it was such a bigger space. This provided help with that. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but
right.
It's amazing. This house looks like every ceiling had drop ceiling in it.
Yeah. And there was nothing else up there. So what we did was we took it all down. Yeah, we ripped it all down to give ourselves some more space.
You're about to show people the demo part right now, aren't you? This is where people got to put their seatbelts on, right?
Yeah. So I think this is the next slide is the demo. This is just one of the secondary bedrooms in that 2-unit space. But this is the demo that we've actually done this week. As you can see, again, the ceilings, the drywall, everything, we've torn it down.
Yep,
See,
and we close.
that room right there looks like it has a gable ceiling or something, roof. That one room right there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Yeah, this is on the 2-unit
All
side.
this was done in 2 days. It's actually even better than that now. You'll see.
Yeah, so what we're planning to do today, as soon as we get off of this call, we'll go to, we're actually gonna go to the property, and we'll probably do a live or something from our pages, our business site. And if we can get the service, if we can get the service. But you'll be able to see, what the updates have been over the last couple of days, what the guys have done over the last couple of days. And so this is the planned layout. From those columns, that very first picture that you saw of the front of the home, the front door, that's where you're going to come in. And this is the structure that we're going to have for the layout of the property to create the 5 bedrooms that we're looking to create. All right. So the next, Scott, if there's no questions, I guess
we do have a couple. We've got about 10 minutes here, a little less.
Okay.
We got a couple questions. So Matt's asking, were there any particular tools or apps that you've used to design interior and exterior of the house? Is there anything from the classes that you learned on that? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's your bailiwick, Jennifer. You love designing and all that.
So
how did you learn to do that?
As for the rehab and stuff like that, again, we talk about the rehab classes, but we also have a iOS where I use to calculate for the rehab that we were going to do. But as far as like
the layout
design, I don't. We might have something. We got so much stuff.
You mentioned the iOS. So a lot of people are going to go, "What is iOS?" So that's stands for Investor Operating Software. That is a software platform that's available to us in the community. And if you get back with who invited you, they can really share more about that. There's actually a couple trainings you can go to learn about that and how it works, but it is amazing. So you use it, Damion? Is that what you said?
Yes, I do.
Gotcha. Does it help? Do you use it for specifically that, or do you use it for some of the other great things that are on it?
I particularly use it when I'm initially either trying to find, whether it's a house that's on market or off market, to find out who the owners is, and you can do a little bit of skip tracing and stuff like that. So I use it for that, and I also use it to calculate what my rehab is going to be.
Yeah. So when we're submitting those numbers to, let's say, either our lenders, we'll usually use that to calculate, what needs to be done in the house, what renovations need to be done, and associate whatever those prices are. But in terms of the actual design of the property and layout, so Damion actually found an app. He actually found an app that created this particular plan, this planned layout, but we don't use anything. I can't say that we use anything in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And what your bedrooms look all about the same size, except for maybe bedroom 5 looks a little smaller.
Yeah, it's not to scale.
Okay.
This was just something that I threw together to show just like a rough layout of what it would look like. Yeah. Actually, bedroom 5 is actually the biggest, biggest bedroom.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. So let's get into some numbers, as we're at 11:51 now, and bingo, there they are.
Yeah. So
we purchased it for so here's a great thing, right, that we just learned with this bankruptcy sale. The seller had to pay all of the closing costs. So The only thing that we end up having to pay was the lawyer,
The attorney fees. Yep.
but he paid all of the closing costs on both sides. We purchased it for $278, and the rental costs, and I'm praying we can actually get that a little bit lower, but at the most it should be 54,000. All of the money for the down payment and for the oh, there we go. You there?
Yes, we're here.
Oh, screen went black. Sorry. The private money cost is 6,600, and the potential ARV is 425. Although that makes for a lot of equity for us, we're in it for the cash flow. So as you can see, the current mortgage, and this is with the hard money loan, so we'll refinance. Hopefully, we'll get into even a better vehicle.
Yeah.
But currently, it's 2264, and the gross monthly rent for Section 8 for this area, and then this is with the tenant paying all the utilities, is 4324 with a potential cash flow of $2,060 a month.
Well, that's amazing. Amazing. You mentioned that obviously you're keeping this. That's the strategy. There's not really a strategy. You don't want to recognize the equity, sell it, take that money out, and do something else at this point. It's really good though that you're in a position where you do have equity. You are forcing equity in the property by doing this renovation, because your ARV is 425. Quick math, that's about what, an $80,000 swing between what you'll have in it and what the property's worth.
Yeah.
That's great. Especially that's key when you go to refi it, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's music to the lender's ears, is when you have that type of equity. And so you talk about current mortgage real quickly on structure, because I do want to get some final comments before we wrap up. So you guys used a private lender for your down payment?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just throwing out like a 20% figure down payment?
Oh, no, it's 15.
15.
Okay, 15%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then with the remaining balance of the purchase price, did you somehow finance that with a hard money lender or a bank?
We end up having to use about 7,000 of our own dollars on this particular property.
7 or 70?
7.
7,000, okay. And so how did you, because you got a current mortgage, do you have that with a traditional
lender? Yes, sorry,
or?
We got a hard money lender, yep.
Okay, so you have a combination, because this happens a lot, guys that are on today. You get creative, right, guys? You get real creative. So you got a little bit of your own, 7,000. You got a private lender, and you got a hard. So you put it together to make this deal happen.
Yes.
Awesome. So, guys, this has been an amazing property tour, and I want to leave a few minutes because we want to respect everybody's time. We want to wrap up by the top of the hour. I have learned so much from you guys. Every time you guys do a property tour, I take away things and I'm buzzing about it. And I literally have, I don't know if you can see my paper here. I literally have some notes that I
Your
have written
screen's
down.
not on.
Oh, it's not on. Let me show you.
Mm-mm.
Okay, just real quick. So I've got a bunch of notes that I've been taking that I'm going to do some research. I'm going to check into some things right after this, because you guys have got my mind going, my wheels going. You know what I mean? And I love that you guys bring so much value to our community, and you're willing to pay it forward. But how would you like to wrap up in the next 3 to 4 minutes? We got a lot of people on today that maybe have not got started, and they don't know what to do and how to get started, and as far as the leap of faith and taking classes and things like that. How would you like to leave today's Zoom property tour? And again, I'm going to start with Jennifer.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I would pivot and say something my husband always says, and it's basically identifying what your why is. Everybody has an interest, right? You have a hobby, you have an interest, but is it really your passion, right? And if it is your passion, let's say real estate investing, rehabbing, redesigning, why is it your passion? Is there a goal? What is the actual end goal? And I know the end goal for us is so that we can actually leave our W-2 jobs. That's the goal for us. The goal for us is to be able to leave our current jobs and spend more time with our family, spend more time traveling. One of the things, we talked about before the call was, our family just came back from Greece. We took a vacation to Greece, like the whole family took a vacation to Greece to just enjoy one another's time. And honestly, real estate investing has afforded us that opportunity to be able to do that. Some of the things that we've learned, ways that we've been able to, move and traverse like our finances, real estate investing has afforded us the opportunity to be able to do that. And so it's identifying the why. Our why is we want to be able to enjoy our family in that way. We want to be able to, do more things like that. And then this is our passion. It's something that we love to do. So our goal is to be able to cut the string with our W-2 jobs and continue to pursue our passion on a full-time basis.
And for me, we talked about it earlier, mindset.
Yeah.
You have an idea of something that you want to do, and you want to do. It's not that you don't want to do it, but a lot of people just don't know what to do, the next step.
Yeah.
So this group allows for that hand holding, for that knowledge, for that encouragement, for that shift in mindset to being around like-minded people. Because for us, it started with an idea. It became more of a passion as we got involved in doing it, but being around other people who are already doing it. The best way to learn, for me anyway, some people got to hit the head a few times, but the best way for me to learn is by example from other people.
Watching others. Yeah.
And to be involved in a group, to see people doing what you say you want to do, it just, you just take the leap, just do it. You can't get around the education. You're either going to pay but from the school to hard knocks, but making so many mistakes, or you're going to pay by learning. And it's good to learn from people who have years of experience in doing something that you want to do, so you can glean from their knowledge.
Yeah.
You're not by yourself.
Yeah.
You can come to anybody in a group. I've never met a group of people who genuinely want you to succeed. And that's the thing about the group. And it's twofold for us. Even we're building a legacy and wealth for our family, but we're also being a blessing to those who are less fortunate by buying houses and fixing them up and making them look nice and putting families, low income, people who don't have the right now, the means to be able to be in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
To be in those neighborhoods where they don't have to worry about violence, and the bad schools and stuff like that.
Amen.
So we're blessing someone else, and in turn blessing us. The Bible says, if you give, you shall receive. So we have a heart to give. And if you have the heart to give, you're going to be taken care of. And that's the culture of this group that we're involved in, giving.
Yep.
I could have never said it any better than the two of you. Well, guys, we're going to wrap up. It's the top of the hour. I've got a big note here to reach out to you guys here in about 2 or 3 weeks and get you on the schedule down the road. Like, that way you have plenty of time, because I know sometimes you're working Saturdays and you can't take the time to do this. We really appreciate you a lot. And I know I'm not the only one that wants to see this project when it's finished and see the numbers again and all that. Guys, this has been a true blessing for you guys to be on today. We appreciate you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again. Everybody that's on, we will be back next Saturday. We will be coming to you guys from North Carolina. And we've got a wonderful property tour next Saturday. And then the Saturday after that, we'll be out in Colorado. So, guys, have a blessed weekend. And Jennifer, Damion, you guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you,
Let's get it
guys.
from you, Scott.
Have a great day, guys.
All right,
Take
be
care.
blessed.
All right, you
Bye
too.
now.
Bye-bye.